I'm Anderson Hurst, and today, if you didn't watch the Seahawks-Titans game, we're going to do a nice little quick recap and look ahead to the Minnesota Vikings here on the Seahawks Squad Show.
It is your boy, Turbo Robert Turbin, and I am the repairman, man.
I've never known how to follow up, Turbo. I'm Corbin Smith, and I have the process.
I'm Chris Crawford. I don't know what to say other than the only really good Thanksgiving side is stuffing. There we go.
I love you, Chris.
Hey, 12, it's the Seahawks Squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
All right, we need to clip that intro because that was the best one yet.
Yeah, for sure.
No
Chris,
questions whatsoever.
You are the best man I have ever met.
I reciprocate it back to
Tell
you.
him again. Tell him.
Stuffing is the only GOAT side for Thanksgiving, man. It's the
that
only
boy
one.
is preaching, y'all.
Oh,
You got to
man.
put some cranberry sauce on the top. You got to put some
Okay,
cranberry sauce
okay.
on the top. But that boy preaching.
I can rock
Oh,
with it.
man. All right,
I love
well, we might need to incorporate some Thanksgiving side dish content in today's
There we go.
episode because it is the episode before Thanksgiving. We got Seattle Seahawks just got the win over the Tennessee Titans this previous weekend, and we'll also be looking ahead to the Minnesota Vikings in a possible revenge game for Sam Darnold. We'll see if that has any sort of narrative. We'll take a look at our injury report. We have a big burning question that I have for our experts here. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith, and Robert Turbin with you today. In the Seahawks Squad Show, Seahawks are 8-3. How much of that is due to a light schedule? You can only beat the teams in front of you. I'm not saying that the Seahawks aren't a good football team, but how much of the fact that they have as good of a record as they do right now is due to a lot of the teams on their schedule being worse than maybe we have expected them to be this year. And then we'll look ahead to the Minnesota Vikings. What kind of threat do they pose? Who's going to play quarterback for them? And let's what's going to happen with Brian Flores going against his former teammate, I guess you could say, in Sam Darnold. So lots to look ahead to in today's episode, but let's go back to that initial intro because I want to distinguish something that Chris Crawford said. He said that stuffing is not only the best Thanksgiving side dish, it is the only good one. Let me just make sure. Did I get that correct?
It's the GOAT. I said good, but I meant to say GOAT.
Okay.
It's everything else is pretty. If you're doing the 20/80 scouting scale, there's some 50s on there. The only 70 or above is stuffing, and it has to be made well. It's got to be actually stuffed too. We're not talking about dressing. Dressing's okay, but it's got to be stuffed. It has to be cooked inside those juices, man. You have to get those juices with those croutons. You have to season it. You can't just say, hey, I'm stuffing this up the you-know-what and hoping for the best. You got to cook it well, but when it's prepared correctly, stuffing is the GOAT of Thanksgiving sides.
Chris,
All right, so we know
black people.
Yeah.
I was a little hesitant there, Chris.
I was just thinking of the right way to answer it. Like, hey, I went to River Ridge High School right next to the Fort Lewis JBLM. So I was the minority in the high school, to be sure, and I'm a better person for it. Absolutely, and especially with food. So you don't get this beautiful body without getting to talk to some people who know how to season some food.
Okay, so Corbin's been shockingly quiet in this portion of it. I'm curious if he disagrees with such.
Oh yeah.
You know, this is gonna send everybody in a tizzy. I'm not a fan of stuffing in general, man. Like I'm not. I just am not. Like I grew up in a family that we had ham for Thanksgiving most of the time, man.
Okay.
Like that's just Midwest. That's
normal.
Just
That's
did,
normal.
man.
Yeah, it's a Midwest thing for sure.
It's in northern Indiana, and I get the ham and get the pineapple on top, and that's our Thanksgiving, man. So
That's
No,
normal.
Chris just had a
No
big...
sides though. You guys just eat
Oh.
straight ham. That's it. No, nothing
Pineapple.
on the
Oh
side.
no! We had really good biscuits and
Biscuits
mashed
are delicious.
potatoes,
Yeah.
and like it was a Midwest meal, man.
Oh yeah. All right. So one last Thanksgiving topic before we move on to the football content, because this is just riveting content here.
Yeah.
What time of day do you guys eat?
Oh, that's a
Don't
good
ask
one.
me.
3
That is
p.m.
the worst question you can ask anybody. No.
What time's Thanksgiving dinner, Chris Crawford?
We usually eat at 4. Sometimes we go 3. If we really like the football game, that's going to be the night game. We'll like eat around that because we
Okay.
usually have something to watch or something like that. But it also depends on how many people show up too, right?
Yeah.
Like if our entire family shows up, we're talking like 17, 18 people. So it's really tough to eat something like too late or too early. But usually around 4 o'clock, I think we're going for 3 this year.
Turbo, what time do you eat?
Listen, I don't know. Okay, because it's supposed to be 2 or 3
Okay.
or 4. It happens at like 8. Like, it's just whenever it's ready. That's when we eat.
There you go.
All right, Corbin, I heard you say 3.
He's a TBD guy. It's a
Yeah,
to be
TBD.
determined.
No, we're not. Not for the people who are hungry.
Yeah.
I guess our
I'm
thing is
here.
like, dude,
I am
it's
here.
3
I'm
o'clock.
ready
If
to
you're not
eat.
here, you ain't getting fed, man. It's 3
Yeah.
o'clock. Like,
Fair enough.
You know,
It's not dinner
And it's
at that
supposed to be
point,
3
though.
o'clock, but it doesn't happen that way. So hey, I don't know.
See,
We don't
I'm a
have
late
time.
I'm a late dinner fan. I can't do it
Okay.
before 5 o'clock. That's a
Okay.
no-go for me.
this all sounds like, the Seahawks should have won by 25 points the other day,
Yes.
but they won by 6.
Yeah. Yeah. There
I
you
will
go.
say that I prefer early
Yeah.
than late, especially because this is a lot of food. This is the day.
That's the thing.
Right?
A
It is
lot of
going
heavy
down.
food too,
So the earlier
right?
I get started, the longer I can, come back for
That's
thirds
nice.
and stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Like if you're eating too late too, like you're talking about eating pie at like 8 o'clock or something like that. Hard pass.
Oh, it's perfect.
Hard
That's
pass.
perfect.
No.
What are you talking about?
No, see,
you got-
Anders, that's because you go, you eat, your plate is nice and proportioned.
Yeah.
You get a couple seconds
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
done. See,
Yeah.
us, the other
No.
3 of us, we overdo everything.
Hell yeah.
You got to leave room for
the
cocktails
food
as well,
doesn't
though.
fit on the plate. I'd come back for more. I'd do a repeat the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not even
Yeah.
thinking about dessert
Yeah.
till
So-
it happens.
So here's the thing too for me this year, and then we can, I guess, move on to football. I'd rather talk about this for another hour and a half. So, I have an extremely, because of my cirrhosis and because of my tumor, I have an extremely strict diet. Like I have only been able to eat tofu, and I've only been able to eat stuff that just doesn't taste very good. A lot of quinoa, a lot of tofu, a lot of that bull crap. I want to use a different word than bull crap, but I get 2 cheat days, and I decided that they're going to be Thanksgiving and my birthday. Guys, there's a very good chance you're going to see me floating away over Seattle. Like, there's a very good chance that you're just going to see me just be that balloon.
Bird
just
at the plane. It's a Chris.
yeah, that's absolutely. It's like 51%, 49 that I will be
There's a
calling.
There's a Christodamus staying.
Yeah, right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Predicting everybody's future. Just,
If
Yes.
you guys want to sell sponsorship, you want to link to your website, just let me know because I'll put a little.
Got
We'll
you.
just put some banners dangling off your feet, like the fire the
Absolutely.
New York Giants
Yeah.
coach thing that we saw.
I'll put like a New York Times stock ticker thing, but I'll do your advertisements while
Oh,
I'm
that's
floating
great.
over your place. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I might just sleep through Wednesday and wake up Thursday and get going.
Yeah, well, if you guys couldn't tell, the Seahawks played one of the worst teams in the NFL this past weekend. In a game that I did not watch. I'm going to be completely honest with you. My wife had her baby shower over this past weekend. So we're going to do an exercise today as we transition to football now. 9 minutes and 28 seconds into the episode.
Perfect.
Welcome, Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith, Robert Turbin with you. We're going to do a little exercise because it applies to me. If you didn't watch the game against the Titans, how would you, in 30 seconds to a minute, how would you describe what happened? How do you feel about it, Chris Crawford?
Misleading score for sure. Like if you just took a look at the box score and saw 30-24, it would not be indicative of what I watched from the Seahawks. Like if we were just watching and you were doing T-ball rules and you didn't keep score, I'd say, oh, the Seahawks won by a considerable margin. Not to say that they were perfect. I thought that it was nice to see a bounce back decision-making wise from Sam Darnold, even if there was some accuracy issues at time. I thought the defense was excellent outside of the very first drive and the last couple of drives of the game. First drive, they had to make some adjustments. Second drives, those last drives, they're just playing super safe, knowing that you have that 3-score lead. It was a good effort, not a great effort, but one that even against a team that is as bad as the Titans, it just barely gets a passing mark from me.
Yeah. Turbo, how do you feel about the game? How would you describe it?
I think overall, I would say, a strong start, maybe not as strong of a finish, in terms of just kind of putting the lights out on the Titans and putting them away. Give some credit to the Titans. They kept fighting and battling back. That's why the score is a lot closer than maybe the game, actually was.
Sure.
I do think that there were some areas of improvement that were highlighted. Like Cam Ward doesn't really strike me as a guy that is like obviously got mobility. Huh? I'm sorry.
He had some good throws from what I saw.
Yeah, no, he made some good throws, but he used his feet well.
Yeah.
And that's really not something he did really all season long consistently, and that might be something to pay attention to down the road when the Seahawks have matchups where guys at quarterback can use their feet a little bit better than Cam Ward does. Yeah. But my overall thoughts, it was a good game, a strong start, just not as strong of a finish there.
Corbin, what do you think?
I've always been a subscriber to the idea that it's never as good as you think and it's never as bad as you think. This was one that when I got done watching the film, it wasn't, there was a lot of fans who were like, we won by 6 and we almost let these guys come back. Like, some of the throws Cam Ward was making were just flat out ridiculous. Like the one that Leonard Williams was hitting him as he was falling out of bounds and he slung it back to the middle of the field and completed it for a conversion. Like sometimes you just got to tip your helmet to the other team and be like, that's why he was picked first overall. Yep. Like I thought he made some, and I talked to a bunch of the Titans beat reporters after the game in the press box, and the general consensus was like, that is easily the best he's played this year in a game. And I know that Titans fans should be encouraged by that. I also think that, we got to see the run game really get going for Seattle. Both their lead backs averaging over 5.8 yards per carry. Sam Darnold and a couple of those big plays to Jackson Smith and Jigba. The red zone issues still are the one thing that maintain from the Rams game that you're hoping you can get cleaned up and the fourth down. But again, some of those fourth downs that the Titans were completing, like, I saw some young Ben Roethlisberger in Cam Ward. I saw a guy that was standing in the pocket firm and like Seattle was decking him and he was not going down. And then he would scramble away and you could only cover so long in the back end. Watching the all-22, it felt like the coverage was pretty sticky on a lot of those conversions. And Cam Ward just Cam Warded. Like he just made extra time and then you could only cover for so long. So I'm not worried about it. And if I'm a Seahawks fan, I'm not worried about the fact that this ended up being a 6-point game. You still got the win. You were up by 20 for a good chunk of this game. The red zone on offense would maybe be the one thing where it felt like you could have really stuffed the turkey, so to speak, in the second and third quarter with that.
Yeah, I think from everything that I've seen, again, I didn't watch the game live. I kind of have, went back and watched the highlights, obviously, tried to look at some film here and there, and then just kind of listened to commentary regarding it. And it seems like Cam Ward impressed a lot of people, and especially going up against the Seahawks defense. And you look at the game and, giving up 26 points is not something I had on my bingo card for the Seahawks. So I think – and he just has nothing around him. Didn't have his number one wide receiver. Not much of a running game. It's just I become more and more impressed kind of looking at the situation there and what he's been able to do or, just make something out of absolutely nothing in that situation. So, yeah, but you get the dub. That's what you want in the NFL. You get the dub. You take those however you can, and especially on the road. I think it was absolutely needed, especially after the game against LA the previous week. So I I almost kind of want to flush that one away. I know we could break it down a little bit more, but if you want to check it out, you can look at the squad show right after the episode or right after the game finished. And this is a bigger, I think, test coming this next weekend against the Minnesota Vikings for a lot of reasons. There's the narrative thing with Sam Darnold returning. There's the NFC playoff picture kind of coming into play a little bit more with San Francisco's win in Monday Night Football. But I'm curious, in our next segment, I want to ask you guys a big question. How much of Seahawks 8-3 record? I think all of us would have signed up for 8-3 before the season started through 11 games. I think that it's almost, I would be hard pressed to find someone who wouldn't sign up for that. But how much of that 8-3 record is the fact that they've played some, lower competition than maybe we would have expected going into this year with their schedule? I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. We'll take a look at the rest of the NFC playoff picture, and then we'll look ahead to the Minnesota Vikings a little bit later on in today's episode here on the Seahawks Squad Show. You guys don't go anywhere. We will be right back. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when you bet when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back, Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirsch, Chris Crawford, Robert Turbin with you. We had Corbin Smith. He's going to be popping in and out. He's got some stuff to handle with everything going on in hhis home today. But I still want to get you guys' thoughts on this kind of notion, because I've seen it a lot with the Seahawks being 8-3. I assume you guys would have signed up for that before this year started.
Absolutely.
Easily. Especially considering where, we saw some of the possible pitfalls with their schedule. But that hasn't come to fruition as much, I think, as a lot of people would have anticipated before this year started, whether that's Washington being worse than people expected, whether that's Minnesota being worse that we're about to play on Sunday being worse than people expected. Pittsburgh slightly below, I think. You could say Houston's probably about what we expected them to be, but a lot of the stronger teams on Seattle's schedule have been either losses with the 49ers and Rams and the Buccaneers, of course, or they're not necessarily as good of teams as we expected them to be. So how much of the Seahawks 8-3 record, and what is it, like half a game or something like that out of the top seed in the NFC West or the NFC in general, is it being a light schedule so far? How much of, okay, we're 8-3, but we haven't really played anybody. And when we do, we kind of lose. So, Chris, what do you say to that notion?
I mean, you can only play the teams that are in front of you, right? And so I think that's important, and that's obvious point is obvious. That being said, I think there are some good wins here. Like Pittsburgh is in first place in the AFC North. Houston is fighting for the NFC South, and with Indianapolis kind of playing like we thought Indianapolis might play over the last couple of weeks, there's a chance that they come back to earth. Houston isn't a bad win. That defense is insanely good, and you put up 27 against those guys. They've also click-clack teams. Like, they have beaten the crap out of some teams. They just destroyed Washington. They destroyed Arizona. They destroyed New Orleans.
They destroyed Houston. I know that score wasn't that close.
The Houston. And here's the thing, too. The game we just talked about against the Titans, they were up 30-10. And the only reason they had 10 until the final quarter is because of bad coverage on a punt return. It was really pretty close to a 30-3 game. And then you give up a couple of late touchdowns. You don't want to do it, but that's not really indicative of how they've played. So, I would like to see them get that elite win. Here's the thing. They've got one more chance. One more. They're going to play against the Rams on that Thursday night game in those ugly uniforms, and hopefully it's an ugly win for the Seahawks in terms of them just dominating the Rams. I really hope that's what we see. I can't call Indianapolis an elite win anymore, just based on what that team has looked like lately. So it's a criticism. I'm not sure how fair it is, because the Seattle Seahawks have just been so much better than their opponents for the overwhelming majority of the year that I can't just say they're just merchants of the schedule. That to me doesn't feel like a fair criticism, but it is a criticism that I've heard.
Yep. All right, Turbo. How much of the Seahawks 8-3 record is due to a poorer schedule than I think a lot of people expected going into this year?
Well, first, I want to note that, I'm going to kindly disagree with Chris just slightly, because I still think the Colts are, one of the better teams in the NFL. And so beating a team like that would certainly lend some legitimacy for the Seahawks. And then I still think that we can't ignore the 49ers either.
No.
Obviously their win last night wasn't the cleanest, but they got the win. And I think they're 8-4 or whatever it is right now. And like you mentioned, Anders, when you open up this segment, Seahawks lost to the 49ers to start the season. So we can't ignore the red and gold down there in the Bay Area. And there is some merit to, when you look at the schedule this season, to have some question marks in terms of the Seahawks and how far they can go. I don't think there's any question marks in terms of them being a good football team. That's for sure. I mean, if anybody's questioning that, then I don't know what you've been watching. But are they one of the best teams in football? If you have maybe some reservations about that because of their schedule, that's something that could be understandable at this particular time of the season. I do hold heavy weight that the 3 losses are against the 49ers, Buccaneers, and Rams. I do think those are really eye-popping and legitimate things to look at in terms of evaluating the Seahawks as a whole. I was on Mad Dog Radio last night. I am every Monday night to do a post-game wrap-up of Monday Night Football on JT and the Brick. And, he asked me, hey, you look at the NFC West, how do you look at it right now in terms of, the top 3 teams in order? Is it Rams, Seahawks, then 49ers? That was his take. I told him, I said, look, based on the one-on-one matchup, I just can't put the Seahawks above the 49ers right now. They lost. So to me, they're the 3rd best team in the NFC West. And so to even have them at the top of the NFC overall is difficult for me to do at this time. And so it's no shade to the team or anything like that. I'm just looking at it as a whole and saying, hey, those are big time losses that you just can't ignore. And there's just still some growth to be had, I think, with the team at this particular moment of the season.
All right, Corbin, what do you say to the notion that, kind of in response to what Chris and Turbo were just talking about, but that the Seahawks are 8-3 a lot because they played a pretty soft schedule?
So I don't agree with that. And I will say this, going off what Turbo said, you can't ignore the 3 losses that the Seahawks have had and who they had them to. But I'm also going to point this out. There are a lot of teams that are perceived as good teams out there, or elite teams, that haven't won the games they were supposed to win. The Eagles lost to the New York Giants this year. The Cleveland Browns beat the Green Bay Packers. I mean, there have been some teams that were in that upper echelon that are going out and losing games like that. San Francisco lost to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a solid team, but they're not spectacular by any means. Point I'm trying to make is, look, you take the schedule that's in front of you. Some of the teams that the Seahawks have in their division, like the Commanders, they got to play them with Jaden Daniels for most of the game. So, Jaden Daniels missed a lot of games this year. There are teams that have feasted on that against him. Seattle played him in 90% of that game before, unfortunately, he got hurt towards the end of the game with that elbow injury. But you can play who you have on your schedule. And the fact of the matter is, San Francisco had issues with the Saints earlier this year. Seattle just absolutely dominated them. The Cardinals have been competitive with a lot of these teams. Seattle just took them behind the woodshed. Like, they're right on the cusp of being there. And the fact that and we can go back to that Rams game 2 weeks ago, the fact they lost that game by 2 with how poorly Sam Darnold played. Like, you can look at the schedule all that you want, but I just don't see an argument to be made there necessarily. The fact is that the 3 teams they lost to are all good football teams. There's no shame in that. You'd like to see them win one of those games if you want them to be one of the elite, but I don't think that you can just sit there and like, well, they're a byproduct of their schedule. No, I think it's still a really good football team, especially that hasn't had the slip-ups that some of these other really good teams have had.
Yeah, and like I'm going to kind of respond to my own question here. I know that I'm the one who posed it, but I kind of am in the camp that that you are, Corbin. It's like a lot of teams view a really good win is if you beat a team that's supposedly better than you. And I just feel like there's less teams that are better than the Seahawks this year that you feel like we shouldn't have won that game. There are more games you go into feeling like the Seahawks should win this game pretty handily. It's not like the Rams, Buccaneers, and Niners are the 3 where it's like, I don't know. I don't really feel that confident going into this game. It's 50-50 or even a little bit less than that. But everyone else, it's like, yeah, you took care of business. You did exactly what you needed to do. So really what's tough, though, is the main criticism is that when you do play one of those good teams, and you just said it there, Corbin, at the end, you got to get some good wins.
Sure.
If people, and a lot of it's victim of expectations as well. If you're just expecting to be a playoff team, then okay, like what you're doing right now is completely fine.
Anders, that Houston game looks a hell of a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
That team looks like they could beat anybody right now with the defense that they've got.
Yeah.
And Seattle put up 27 on them. So that win's looking better than what it did at the time that they got it on Monday Night Football.
100%.
I would say the same for the Jaguars game. Like, look what they did to the Chargers. I know the game against the Cardinals, they have to hang on to their you-know-whats in order to pull it out, but they do get that win on the road. There are some wins against good teams here. Like,
sure.
And you know what's funny? Like, nobody says this about, look at the Patriots' strength of victory, right? Like, they have beaten absolutely no one for the overwhelming majority of the season. Why is this? And I'm not usually one of those, why are they picking on us type of guys? But like, it is weird how people pick and choose this narrative, right? Because the Patriots' strength of victory is one of the absolute worst in the NFL. And you're talking about Drake May and MVP and stuff like that. It's credit to the Patriots. They can't pick their schedule. They go out and they play who they do, and they've looked good doing it.
Yep.
But it's a little weird to say, hey, the Seahawks are these merchants when there's a lot of teams. The Denver Broncos, take a look at that strength of victory as well. Both of those in that 350, like, not guaranteed to win the batting title strength of victory numbers. It's not impressive, guys. Like, there are a lot of teams that are beating up on what they are, and that's part of it. That's the NFL now. There are a lot of haves and a lot of have-nots. Just got to beat the have-nots when you play them, and the Seahawks have done just that.
For the record, if you ask me the same question about the Patriots and or the Denver Broncos,
say the same thing.
I'd have the same response.
Yeah,
and I don't have any of those two teams coming out of the AFC at all.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. It's just, let me ask you this, guys. Do you think the 3 best teams that Seattle has played so far are their 3 losses?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Corbin?
I mean, Steelers, Texans. I know the Texans are looking good right now. The Jags.
I'd sound crazy, maybe. Houston, didn't the Texans, I got to go back and look. Didn't the Texans beat the 49ers a few weeks back?
I think so.
I think that they did. It was the week after Seattle beat them. Yeah, they won. I think Houston, with where they're at right now, like if Bosa was healthy, then I would have the 49ers there. But
or Fred Warner.
That Houston defense is just plain nasty.
Yeah,
those are junkyard dogs. Like I would put them at number 3 and not the 49ers.
Sure. See, I'd do them at number 3 instead of the Buccaneers, because especially with the Bucs.
Well, and Tampa Bay's had a lot of injuries since Seattle played them. They are not the same team.
Yeah.
But at the time that they played them, let me put it that way, I think the 3 best teams on your schedule were the 49ers in week 1, the Buccaneers in week whatever it was, and the Rams 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. So, I mean, that's not uncommon amongst NFL teams. You lose to the better teams, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to expect to be one of the upper echelon Super Bowl contenders, I think you should hope to eke out one of those victories,
Especially
right?
with 2 of those games at home. Right?
Yes.
Like, especially the fact in that 49er game, I mean, I can't help but feel like that's going to be one that we look back on and say, gosh, dang, what if they get that W? What if they take care of business? And you can, you do it for every game that you lose, right? Like, hey, what if we won on this? And there's games that they've won that you'll say, hey, they probably should have lost this one, but they came out. I can't think of any so far this year.
No.
But yeah, that's the frustrating thing to me, is that you just take care of business at home. In one of those games, you're talking about a lot different situation for the Seahawks right now.
Yep. And like, I think in general, we all are pretty much on the same page where it's like, yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to get that win. And I kind of agree with Turbo. I still am afraid of the Niners there at the end of this year. I know they have their 2 best players on defense out, but Robert Saleh is coaching his butt off, still figuring out a way to get stops. And of course, Mike Shanahan's going to continue to do it. I don't know. Like, I can't really handicap the rest of this NFC West. I know in my heart of hearts that the Seahawks right now are a better football team than the San Francisco 49ers. That doesn't mean they're going to win at the end of this year. That doesn't mean they're going to have a better record than they are at the end of this year. So it's so hard to kind of predict what's going to happen. All right. Let's take a look at. I want to skip ahead. Let's look ahead to the Vikings here. This next weekend here. Is this a revenge game for Sam Darnold? I'm curious if you guys think that's any sort of narrative whatsoever. How's he going to do against the Brian Flores defense that he used to play against every day in practice? And who the heck is playing quarterback for the Vikings coming up? We have no idea. I honestly have no idea. We'll check out that next here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back, Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith, and Robert Turbin with you. Let's look ahead to the Minnesota Vikings here in, what is this, week 13 now. Seahawks 8-3. Minnesota Vikings 4-7. A big yikes on their part. Moving on from Sam Darnold after a great year with them last year with their first round pick JJ McCarthy, and it has been there's been a little bit left to be desired there. There's even a question of if he's going to play or not. Just in general, let's start with the Seahawks perspective of things, specifically with Sam Darnold. Corbin, you're on the beat almost every day. Is there any sort of narrative or thought within, Sam Darnold's mind or the Seahawks locker room that this might be a revenge game for Sam Darnold for having Minnesota move on from him after the year that he had?
I wish I could give you a really juicy answer to that, but when Seahawks players and coaches say that Sam Darnold is the same guy every day, he is the same guy every single every sleeping second. He's probably the same Sam Darnold. This guy he is one mode. There's not going to be extra emotion for him in this game. He's not going to be coming into this like, I got to prove to you guys that you made a mistake. That's just not how Sam Darnold is programmed. He doesn't play the game that way. He doesn't play life that way. So I wish I could give you a juicy tidbit that like, hey, there's some bulletin board material. How dare you let go? Like, no, but Sam Darnold that's just not who he is. That he's going to be treating us like any other football game. I just want to beat you. I don't care that I played for you last year. I'll have some conversation with guy before the game, buddy, whatever. But when the game starts, like, you're the other team. I'm going to play the best that I can play. He's not going to be looking into this like, how dare you guys do this to me? And I'm going to show you wrong, whatever. Like, that's just, if you ever listen to a Sam Darnold press conference, like, that's like the polar opposite of who Sam Darnold is. That's just, he is a Southern California, calm and collected, nothing really flusters him kind of guy. And he's not going to be flustered by the fact that the Vikings had him last year and they let him go.
Yeah, okay, so let's look at the actual matchup then, Chris Crawford. Brian Flores, known for his exotic blitz packages. And I think if you're going to say one of the few things that has gotten Sam Darnold off his jive a little bit is when he gets pressure in his face like he did, especially in that Rams game. Do you have any sort of worries about, the familiarity between Brian Flores and and the quarterback that was formerly on his team, I should say, and just the matchup?
A little bit, like not a ton, but a little bit. I'm very confident in the Seahawks winning this game because of the other side of the football going up against the Seahawks. But, I'm a little nervous to see how a guy like Anthony Bradford, who actually probably played his best game as a Seahawk last week, I'm still going to be nervous how he handles interior pressure. One of the things we've seen, you guys have all seen the social media highlights of that guy blocking nothing or blocking his own teammate or hitting the B button and getting stuck and just spinning like a ballerina. I mean, I swear I've seen all of that stuff, but like, that's a little bit nerve-wracking to me, but I think Sam Darnold's going to be fine in this game. I think it'll be a situation where you maybe don't see spectacular numbers, but I think that there's going to be enough that you get the W here. But if there was one concern I have, it's about whether or not the Seattle interior line, not really Gray Zabel. I think Gray Zabel obviously is going to be fine, but like how old Timmy, and who also I think played a solid game against the Titans as well, how the interior line is going to handle blitzes up the middle, how not just the protection, not just the actual ability to block the guy, how they handle the switching that is going to be necessary with a guy like Brian Flores. That'd probably be my one concern for the offense this week.
Yeah, Turbo, do you have any concerns with the matchup, at least on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, first of all, Sam Darnold, he's a pro athlete. Yeah. And let me tell you something right now. Okay. When you have a season like you did last year and you've been fighting your tail off to prove yourself at every stop, whether it was the Jets, whether it was Carolina, okay, and you do that and you don't even get offered a contract.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not gonna say, it's cool. Hey, listen, I'm a Southern California dude. I love surfing. Probably. I don't even know if he does or not. I'm just telling you, as a ball player, deep down in his stomach, he's gonna have something to prove in this matchup this week, for sure. And I think what he's going to do is show what everybody already knows now, because they've seen JJ McCarthy play this season. He's going to show that the Vikings made a huge mistake in not even attempting to bring him back. It's in there. He may not express it.
Yeah.
I believe it's in there because it's in there for all of us as athletes and coaches and anybody who's competitive on a deep, deep level. I don't have a ton of concerns about this game. Only, I guess the only one I would point to is if the Seahawks just had one of those letdowns. Earlier in the show, we talked about upsets. I think we talked about Cleveland beating the Packers,
right?
And, gave some other examples. That would
Seahawks really haven't had one. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat.
Yeah, exactly. And so that would be really my only concern. Like, the exotic blitzes, they're going to be there. They could be impactful in terms of helping the Vikings generate an upset. it'll be difficult if they're not going to get anything from the offensive side. And I think the Seahawks defense is going to be solid enough to be able to take care of business. So my only concern is like you go into the game, you don't know if JJ McCarthy is going to play. You know that the Vikings are struggling, and I don't know. You just have one of those games where it's just like, yo, that wasn't us.
Yeah,
out there. That would be the only thing that concerns me.
Does that concern you, Corbin Smith?
You know, that the one thing I will say, Darnold, aside from the Rams game, has been really good against the blitz. That game, a couple of his picks were on pressures. He is gonna, even though we're talking about a defensive coordinator who is as unpredictable as anybody when it comes to drawing up exotic stuff, like I just feel like Sam Darnold is going to have a good beat on that because he's practiced against this guy. He understands how Brian Flores' brain ticks from that. And I don't want to go into this game overlooking a team because Minnesota's got a lot of really good players. That's the thing for being 4-7. They have a lot of good players, but this is also still a defense that with their aggressiveness, like it can be a double-edged sword. And I think against a team like Seattle that's been as good at getting deep plays downfield as anybody, that could end up being a kryptonite to what they like to do. If that front line can just make sure that they have their blocking assignments down and they communicate well, Sam Darnold's going to get some of the one-on-ones that he wants. So I'm a little concerned because of what we saw in that Rams game. At the same time, I feel like, again, Sam Darnold should have a pretty good beat on what Brian Flores is going to try to do to him. And I do think that super aggressive type defense, look at Tampa Bay when they were healthier early this year. I mean, Seattle lost that game, but Seattle put up 35. That's the closest defense you're going to see in terms of running similar types of blitzes and the way that they operate defensively. That was one of Sam Darnold's best games. So I'm not overly concerned going into this game.
Yeah, it just I kind of like what you alluded to there with the matchup familiarity between Sam Darnold and Brian Flores. Who has the advantage? It's kind of like the age-old question. I'm going to go to my baseball guy, Chris Crawford. Pitcher versus hitter familiarity. Who has the advantage? Quarterback versus D coordinator.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And there's usually not a ton of sample size for either one. That can make it like exactly right, but I think if you talk to different people, you'd get different answers for that one too, right? And I think if you talk to different people, you'll have different stuff too. But there's no doubt Sam Darnold's a sharp dude. He's listening in on defensive meetings. He's listening in on what they're going to be doing. Like, I imagine that it won't be I'm completely surprised by what's happening here. But, there's no doubt that like I will always have concerns about Anthony Bradford. I will always have concerns about what's going on there until he shows me he can do it for a couple weeks in a row, right? It's just that the talent level isn't there to be a above average starting right guard, in my personal opinion. But it's going to be fascinating to watch. And I know this, like, I think Turbo hit the nail on the head that like, no matter what Sam Darnold says, he wants this win badly. He has to want this win badly. When you are basically told what you did is not good enough, whether you're a professional athlete or a professional baker or a professional dog walker, you take that personally, right? But especially something as competitive as football, when they say we are moving on to this guy instead of you, even though you did the things you do, there's no way he's not taking that personally. I just think Sam Darnold is mentally strong enough to not make that something where he presses or makes throws that he's not supposed to make. I don't think it's going to be a negative factor in that term.
Turbo, is there, like, I know we've spent almost the entire time on our offense versus Minnesota's defense, but flipping to the other side of the ball, is there any concern whatsoever with Seattle's defense against the whatever Minnesota is going to throw out there in offense?
Well, I mean, you have to look to their strengths, and their strengths are Justin Jefferson when he can get an accurate football.
Yeah,
he's hard
it's
to
a big
guard.
win.
And then you got to look at their backfield. They got two pretty good backs in Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And so, when my point is that they're capable. Yeah. Okay, you don't look at Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason and it's not, those aren't guys you fear, but they're capable. That if they get a good rhythm and they get some open field and they're able to sort of get involved in this game and be disruptive, they're capable of making plays.
Yeah.
And the same goes for Justin Jefferson. And so if there are any concerns, just like, man, these couple skilled players that they do have who are capable, Addison is another guy that you just can't ignore. I mean, these are capable players.
Yep.
And so from that standpoint, there is, I guess some rise for concern from that point of view. And we have to be able to be locked down on defense.
Yeah, Corbin, just give us a quick update on any injuries on Julian Love's front, and then looking at the other side, who even is playing quarterback for them? Because Carson Wentz is out for the year, right? So if JJ McCarthy can't go, who would be
undrafted rookie Max Brosmer, who played at Minnesota, and I will say this, and Rob Rang, our good buddy Rob Rang, who does outstanding draft analysis, as good as anybody in the business.
Absolutely.
Rob made a really good point. Brosmer is not going to blow you away with his athleticism or his arm talent. That's why he's an undrafted player. However, he will make the smart reads in the short to intermediate game. He'll get the football out of his hands. And Kevin O'Connell's had a lot of success with quarterbacks that play the game that way. So, look, I'm not saying that he's going to go in and light up this Seahawks defense by any means, but I wouldn't be shocked if their offense is a little bit more efficient with Brosmer than what it is. I mean, it can't get much worse than what McCarthy's played like. I mean, that's being brutally honest. He's been god-awful. He's been terrible.
Anders, can I give you a stat from Dan
please.
Pizzuta from the second half of JJ McCarthy last week?
Okay.
The Green Bay Packers did not blitz one time in the second half. Not one. He was still pressured on 61.5% of his dropbacks. He averaged 0.8 air yards per completion and averaged -1 EPA per play. Now, you don't even have to know what EPA stands for. I'm not 100% sure. I remember to know that's really crappy, right? And some of that pressure has to do with the fact that the Minnesota Vikings offensive line is not great.
No,
some of it has to do with if you thought Russell Wilson held on to the ball too long, wait till you watch JJ frickin' McCarthy, because this dude can't process anything right now. And he takes forever to get rid of the football, which is extremely concerning when you have dudes that Turbo just mentioned, one of the GOAT wide receivers in Justin Jefferson, an incredibly talented wide receiver in Jordan Addison, a strong tight end in TJ Hawkinson, and you're still not finding people open. That's problem freaking addict. Max Brosmer,
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, that's a great point. Right.
That Brosmer's not going to do that in part because he can't. Brosmer's not going to be running around doing all, because that's not his game. But I could see this being like a Nick Mullins type thing.
Yeah,
that's the kind of player and Nick Mullins in this style offense has won some games. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't be shocked if this offense is actually better right now with Max Brosmer, because McCarthy just has absolutely no confidence right now. He's completely shot. Yeah. So, if I'm Seattle, you're kind of hoping that he's out of concussion protocol.
Yeah.
He's been playing this year. But, they're in a tough spot at quarterback right now. There's no question about it. As for Seattle's injuries, look, we'll see where things go later in the week. Mike McDonald has become a pro at literally not answering when he's asked about injuries. But I will say this, though. How cool is it that if they don't have Ty Akata or Julian Love this week, if there is a dude that can come in off the street and play a game 3 days after you sign him, Quandre Diggs is that dude. And so how awesome is it that you had him available to bring in right now and potentially be able to pick you up in this game, and a guy that's had success against the Vikings in his career. That is as good of a late season addition as you can make in the NFL.
I'm going to jump off on that in our last segment because I want to ask you about that. I know you have a good relationship with Quandre. I want to know your thoughts on how he fits in, without much of a lead-in whatsoever. What does that tell you about Julian Love's status just based off of their moves? And if he has to step in, is it something that we can feel okay about? Because it looks like Ty Akata is a no-go as well. So I'm curious on your thoughts if he has to step into a situation where he's going to be looking to play for, the majority of snaps on Sunday. I don't know if that's the case. If that ends up happening, how confident should we be with someone kind of coming off the street? He was in Tennessee's system. He asked to be let go. But it's not like they were lighting it up defensively, at least in the back end either. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there that they just weren't tapping into, and maybe this is more of a just having a veteran around, and if he needs to play a few snaps here and there, great. If it seems to me like if you're gonna ask him to be, a big part of this defense, that there might be some limitations there. I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on that. And we have Nostradamus here. Let's use him. All right. Let's get our predictions, not for scores, just how this game's going to play out. We'll do that next year on the Seahawks Squad Show. Welcome back. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Corbin Smith, Robert Turbin with you. We're looking ahead to the Minnesota Vikings here in week 13. Seahawks are 8-3, Vikings 4-7. So Corbin alluded to it right at the end of our last segment there. The Seahawks, it looks like they're finalizing. It hasn't been official yet, but it looks like all signs are pointing to re-signing former friend, current friend, I guess you could say as well, Quandre Diggs, to come and be a part of Seattle for the stretch run here. So Corbin, as someone who is on the scene pretty often, and B, has a somewhat of a relationship with Quandre Diggs, what does he bring to this group? Is he going to be ready to go by Sunday from what you can tell? And if he, has to go, what does that tell you about, the status of Julian Love?
Yeah, the fact that they're even bringing him in at this stage, you look at what Mike McDonald said, maybe Julian Love can play this week, but nothing that he has said has indicated to me that they're overly confident that he's going to be suiting up this weekend. That's just been my general sense.
Is that the case with Tyakata too?
My understanding, Tyakata is, McDonald threw out injured reserve with all those guys that got hurt this weekend. My understanding is they don't think it's that significant of an injury.
Okay.
People I've talked to. However, you could have both those guys out for a couple of weeks, like Love additional weeks. You could have Okada missing a couple of games, and then that leaves you with DeAnthony Bell, Kobe Bryant, and Nicky Benwari as your safeties. So they're going to need some help in terms of traditional safeties. And Quandre Diggs, look, people are going to look at the Titans defense. I can tell you, I watched a lot of Titans games going into this one, preparing for the Seahawks game against them. I don't see anything on film that suggests to me he can't play anymore. I mean, Tennessee's defense has a lot of other problems, obviously. Look, as you mentioned, Anders, he was not cut because the Titans didn't think he could play anymore. He asked to be released because I think he wanted to latch on with somebody.
Yep.
And they were going to play younger guys moving forward because they're not going anywhere. So he wanted to have a chance to latch on somewhere that was going to be a better chance to maybe get into some playoff contention, things like that. And the chance to come back to Seattle now with how banged up they are at that position. And I mentioned it earlier. I'm saying this is a guy that has I've interviewed hundreds of players in that locker room. I don't know that there is a dude that I have talked to that loves to talk X's and O's more than what Quandre Diggs does. And he is going to come in ready to go. He is going to be able to hit whatever terminology is getting thrown at him. The dude's a sponge. He's played so much football. He's played in every scheme imaginable. He's played multiple positions. He's going to be ready to do whatever the Seahawks need him to do. And so if they call him up Sunday and he's asked to play some free safety, the dude can wake up and he can come up and, not practice once and just say, hey, we need you to do a couple of these things at free safety. The dude will be able to do it. The guy's been doing it for years. I am more than confident if they needed to use him this weekend that they could.
Cool. Chris Crawford, what do you expect from Quandre?
This was not my favorite Seattle Seahawk of all time, if I'm being completely honest with you. And it wasn't because I got a lot of people who told me it was a really fun interview in the clubhouse and all that stuff, and he made some good plays. I also think that There were some times where I wish someone else was playing free safety for the Seahawks, and I went and watched some highlights of Quandre Diggs, and it's just highlights. It's just like, little things here and there. I think counting on him to be more than a depth piece is asking an awful lot at this stage of his career. But I think the point Corbin brings up about the fact that this guy's a sponge, this guy understands terminology really well. I'm not nervous about him like blowing an assignment because of the fact that he doesn't know what's going on. I'm a little bit concerned about him blowing an assignment because he's just not that great of a safety anymore. And that's not me taking a huge shot at him. It's just, there's probably a reason why after he asked for the race that Quandre Diggs did not find a suitor for a little while, right? And maybe that's him picking and choosing, totally fine there. I just have my doubts about Quandre Diggs being a guy who is good enough to be a starting free safety for a team that should be contending for a title. That being said, that's not what they're asking him to do. They're asking him to be a backup guy. Here's hoping, though, that because of the plethora of injuries that they've experienced at that position, that they don't have to play Quandre Diggs in that position.
And I think I'll give Turbo the mantle off this because I'm sure Turbo's got some interesting thoughts on this too. But I'm also going to say this. If there is a coach that can squeeze out starting play, if you're concerned about that at this point, if there is a coach that can move the pieces there to maximize what Quandre Diggs is now, it is Mike McDonald, the guy that got Tayakata playing at a quality starter level here this season. Look what Geno Stone is doing in Cincinnati. They're wanting to throw stones at the dude for how poor he's been playing. And he was a Pro Bowler in Baltimore playing for Mike McDonald. So, look, if there's a coach that can bring it out of him at this stage, and he's loved in that locker room, a lot of these guys have played with Quandre Diggs. If there's a fit that could really squeeze out whatever's left, it is here. It is here in Seattle with Mike McDonald.
Turbo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love what Corbin said about Geno Smith in Cincinnati. I did a workout for the Raiders back in 2019, actually, and it was me and it was Sharkandrick West. If you guys remember him, he played for the Chiefs as a running back for a little while. I can't remember who the running backs coach was that was out there, but Gruden was the head coach at the time. And so at the end of the workout, coach comes up to Sharkandrick and he says, "Hey, listen, you guys both did a good job. I want you guys to know that our decision is not about like skill. This is not really, it's not always about skill. There's a little piece of it, but it's mostly about fit. So it's like, what type of running back are you? What is your style? Are you a zone runner? Are you a gap scheme guy? Are you elusive? Are you laterally quick? Are you a straight line speed guy? All of those things that you evaluate in terms of a runner, does it fit the system of the Raiders during that particular time? Now, neither one of us end up getting signed, which is kind of funny, but my point is that Diggs fits the team. So you may not think from a skill set standpoint, he's got this or he's got that, but you think about familiarity in the locker room.
Sure.
You think about chemistry amongst the players on that football team, how well some of those guys really know each other. I mean, think about Quandre and then some random other safety that, who's the kid that played for the Broncos for a long time. He still hasn't been signed. He was a really good player. Can't think of his name. Simmons, exactly. Think about a Justin Simmons,
right?
Coming into the team. It's like, all right, you think about and you're like, wow, his skill set. I remember but does he fit the team? Does he fit like the guys in the locker room, and the style of play, and all of those things? And so when they signed Quandre, there's still some skill set there, like you guys mentioned, from a film standpoint. But I think this is more about, man, this is a guy from a communication out on the field standpoint. He's already talked to some of these guys.
Sure.
They already know the lingo from one another. They already know each other's voices. And it's those small, intricate things that actually kind of matter more sometimes than the skill set. And I think that's why this is a really nice signing for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and hopefully it's especially the depth piece, all those things that you're pointing out, Turbo. I think it matters even more as someone who you're not relying on to be a starting caliber player. And let's hope that that's what ends up happening, right? Because
and you don't want it to be somebody that's going to mess with culture either. And you know that Quandre's not going to do that. Like these guys that play with him love it. So
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how it works out. I think the familiarity is awesome. And let's just hope the injuries don't pile up too much to where we're seeing him every single snap. Because that would be not ideal, I think, in a lot of Seahawks fans' minds. All right. Let's do our quick round table. You don't even have to give a score. Just Seahawks win or Seahawks loss. Chris Crawford.
Seahawks win. I think Seahawks win comfortably.
All right, Turbo. Really? You having to think about this?
I mean, I think this might be an upset.
Really?
Okay.
You kind of alluded to that earlier. They in the last 4
It gotta
weeks,
happen.
the Vikings did beat the Lions and the Bears in the last 4 weeks. So, Corbin.
Max Brosmer's playing quarterback. JJ McCarthy's playing quarterback. Like, look, I get it any given Sunday, and they got good players, but I think Mike McDonald's defense is going to take whoever's playing quarterback and put them in a blender. I can't see Minnesota overcoming that. I can't.
All right. I'm going to go Seahawks win as well. I do like what Turbo's saying, though, because like the Seahawks haven't had one of those games where, they're supposed to win and they don't. And that happens every single year. There's very rarely teams that don't have one of those losses at some point, even the really, really good teams at some point throughout the year. So
have a slip up. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen here, but I think like you guys are pointing out, all signs are pointing towards a Seahawks victory here. Let's make sure you go get it done, be ready to go. And we should be good to go. All right. Corbin Smith, what do you guys got on Emerald City Spectrum for the rest of this week?
Going to have a report card from this week's game coming up soon with the all 22, and then start to take a deep dive into how Mike McDonald's handled rookie quarterbacks. We saw this last week. Cam Ward gave us some issues, but how has he performed as a defensive coordinator and a head coach against rookie QBs? Because even if McCarthy plays year 2, he's really a rookie quarterback because he didn't play his rookie season. So going to have an interesting data piece on that heading into this game against the Vikings.
Hell yeah. Turbo, you got a Mountain West call this weekend?
Yeah, man. Last regular season game of the year. It's crazy. Nevada at home against UNLV. It'll be a big time rivalry. UNLV really needs it to put themselves in position to be able to compete for the Mountain West Championship game. And Nevada's kind of found their stride. They're not a good football team. It's hard to recruit, but they've won 2 in a row, and a win puts them at 4 wins this season, which is something that maybe they can build on moving forward. It is a rivalry in terms of the state of Nevada and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to it. Saturday night, CBS Sports Network.
Let's go. Chris, what kind of, where can we find your wonderful work fantasy wise?
Nobody pays me enough for me to promote it.
Great. All right. Sounds good.
Dude.
NBC Sports, Roto World, Mile Wide, check it all out. But I'm just here to talk about the Seahawks.
Anders, what's up? What happened at the baby shower, man?
Yeah,
you didn't give us no details, man.
Gifts were given.
That was it.
Games were played. Predictions were made. That's all I'll say.
Did you guys do a reveal thing like a balloon or something?
Everyone knew it was a boy already. I am having a baby boy. He's due in February, right after the Super Bowl. Hold off until after the Super Bowl, Austin. We'll see in a bit.
See, that's how I know that your nice proportion plates on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Everything everything is just
by the book.
Come on.
By the book.
Make sure the stuffing doesn't touch the mashed potatoes. Make sure the mashed potatoes don't touch. Come on.
No mixture. No mixture.
Oh.
You got to separate the tastes because it's But stuffing's too good. Like, I'm with you guys. Stuffing's the goat. Yeah. Stuffing's so good that I don't want to ruin it with anything else.
Totally fair. Yeah, no dressing, by the way, either. That's bullcrap. It's stuffing.
It's
gotta go in that turkey.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. All right, everyone, have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you three, for joining me today. We'll chat with you right after the Seahawks game on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully, we're talking about a victory. But of course, until then, enjoy this week. Enjoy, however you spend Thanksgiving or this holiday week, whether that's with family, whether that's with friends, however you, enjoy this wonderful week. Please do so and be safe. And we'll talk to you guys after the game on Sunday. Go Seahawks. Peace out.